Alaikum. So it can't be done live straight up like this. All right, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Here we are once again with the live show. So, got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. One thing in particular, I was watching some of the videos about this Imam from Australia. Many of you may have heard of him. His name is Tawhidi, right? And I've been seeing some reports about him on Twitter. People are accusing him of being a fake Imam because they say nobody in Australia has heard of him. They don't know what institution he's Imam of and things of this nature. But of course, also they're saying this because of the fact that he seems to be like, I guess, a sellout, the Muslim version of an Uncle Tom, the Muslim version of a house Negro towards the Muslims. So he goes on these talk shows and he's speaking bad about Islam, speaking bad about Muslims, yet he claims to still be a Muslim. So I was watching some of his videos so I could, try to get a better idea, understand, and see what he's saying. And yeah, it appears that that's exactly what he's doing, And my question to him and people like him is that why don't you just say you're an ex-Muslim like some of these other haters, right? Just say you're an ex-Muslim, and that is because it doesn't make any sense to say that you are a Muslim, but yet you're allegedly admitting that the Quran is and Islam is this evil, violent religion. But you're still in it, but you're still a Muslim though. You know what I mean? Like, why don't you just say, hey, look, do like these other people. Just say you're an ex-Muslim, you're not a Muslim anymore, and just be done with Islam, right? Why try to play this game of saying, well, I'm still a Muslim, but yeah, it's this violent religion. Yeah, the Quran, it teaches this. It sounds silly, So it just doesn't make any logical sense. Why would you still be a Muslim then? Just leave it. Just leave the religion completely, and then speak bad about it as an outsider. But to speak bad about it as someone who claims to still be a Muslim, it doesn't make sense, unless, of course, and it obviously is working, unless it helps you get paid, right? Because now all these shows can call you and say, look, see, he's a Muslim, he's an Imam, and even he says that you Muslims are evil. Even he says that your Quran is violent. Even he says that your text and all this stuff teaches all. You see what I'm saying? That's the only way that it works. That's the only way that it works. Other than that, it doesn't make any logical sense. Wa alaikum salam, right? Other than that, it doesn't make any logical sense to claim to still be a Muslim, right? But yet here you are, but talk bad about Islam. Because I've been saying this throughout the years, that look, if Islam was a violent and evil religion, and it actually taught the things that these people claim, I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't be a Muslim. See, I wouldn't be playing this game like these guys are playing, that, oh yeah, I'm still a Muslim. No, I'd be like, you know what? I left that evil, violent, and dangerous religion. It's evil, it's violent, and I'm not a Muslim anymore. But these guys are claiming that they're still Muslim. And he's trying to do this, this reformer thing, this peace advocate thing. So I'm like, again, why would you want to reform a religion that's already evil, right? You can't reform that. If it's evil, as you're claiming it is, if the scriptures teach all this stuff as you claim, then you can't reform that because it's just evil as it is. See? Reforming it to whatever to what you're trying to, I guess, whatever version you want to make, that wouldn't be that wouldn't be reforming it, because that would be just changing it, right? If again, I'm not agreeing that it is what he's claiming, but I'm saying if it is the evil and violent and demonic religion, that he's claiming it is to be, then you can't reform that. You see, if you were to go and say, okay, well, because that's what it's like. He's trying to play this reformer thing. So you can't. But so you know what I mean. So in other words, if you were to if you were to allegedly, hypothetically reform it, you wouldn't be reforming it then. You'd be changing it, which would then prove that the religion was false from the start, right? If, again, follow what I'm saying, everybody, right? If he's saying that Islam is evil and violent and it actually teaches these evil things, right? And he wants to reform it to, I guess, do the opposite of the evil that it allegedly teaches, then you wouldn't be reforming it, right? You wouldn't be reforming it. You would be changing the religion to something else, which would then prove that from the beginning then that the religion is false and that you're just changing it to make it acceptable or whatever. Because matter of fact, I was watching one of the videos where he said that he wants to make it compatible with Western values or something of this sort. He was saying in one of the interviews, right? He was on a show and he said, yeah, I want to make it, or he in one of his videos, something that he wants to make it compatible with Western values or something like that. So again, your position then, you're basically proving from your way of argumentation that Islam is fake, that Islam is false, right? And that you basically just want to change it and make up a new Islam. Just change it, make it something new. Again, I'm saying allegedly, right? Because I'm not confirming his position. I'm just saying, looking at it from the way he's bringing it, that's what he would be saying. He would be saying that Islam is just false and fake, and he basically just wants to make another. He wants to just make another version of Islam over here, right? Leave the evil whatever Islam over here, and you want to just make your own new Islam. Call it Islam. It's something new, and let it be the opposite of the alleged evil, violent, warlike, demonic Islam, right? So that wouldn't be that. Again, I repeat, that would not be a reformation. That would be just changing and creating something different, and thereby proving that Islam was false. Therefore, your new version of it would be false too, because if you're going to still call it Islam, it would be based upon the other thing. You just changed it. So your whole house would just fall apart as being created as false. You see what I'm saying? So that's why your argumentation is wrong, the way he's arguing it. So, it just appears that, like a lot of sellouts, Malcolm X always warned about this, of course he was talking about, but it still applies in the same context. Malcolm X was talking about how you got to be wary to watch out for, back in those days, black leaders who the white racist system would trot out, right? Who they would bring out as a spokesperson, who doesn't really speak on behalf of the people, but they bring them out to contradict what the people are talking about, you see? And so, he spoke about leaders that in his time would do that. Matter of fact, they even brought people out to speak against, sometimes they would bring them black leaders out to speak against Martin Luther King and say, oh yeah, he's a troublemaker. Everything's fine here. Everything's fine here in the South. We're doing great. And he's a troublemaker. See? So they would get these Uncle Toms, right? They would get these Uncle Toms. They would get these sellouts who they could bring out as their mouthpiece on behalf of white bigotry to speak for them and say, yeah, see, look, this guy, he's one of y'all, and he's even saying that Martin Luther King is a troublemaker. See, look at this guy. He's one of y'all, and he's saying that Malcolm X is a troublemaker, etc. See, look at him. He's saying that, look, we black people don't need to vote. So look at it. He's black, and he's saying that y'all don't need to vote. This is when they were having the voter registration drives to get black Americans to register to vote when they were being prohibited. So they would bring black people out like that, sellouts, Uncle Toms, coons, house Negroes, to speak the talking points of the white bigots and thereby give some kind of, credence and justification. So this is what from what I'm seeing, is what this Tawhidi dude is like, right? He shouldn't even be called an Imam. This is what this Tawhidi is like. He's basically the Muslim version of a house Negro Uncle Tom type version of a Muslim. That's basically what I'm seeing from him. So they bring him out, and he's getting all this credibility because they love him, right? The bigots love him. Because I'm watching I'm looking at the comments in the section, and they love him, right? Yeah, this guy, so this is what they do. They like to point to people like that to say, look, he's one of y'all, and he's saying it. And they do that here in America, even now, like for example, when black people are protesting police brutality or racism or whatever, they find some Uncle Tom, a house Negro, coon, black person, black celebrity, black politician, black newscaster or news reporter, journal, whatever, find somebody, talk show host, whatever, to come out and be like, yeah, those people are just a bunch of thugs. Those Black Lives Matters people are just troublemakers. They always find somebody who can be their mouthpiece. And that's always, a troubling thing, that they can always find a sellout to always make an excuse for white racism and white bigotry. And again, this is the Muslim version of it. So they got this Imam Tawhidi. He's the one that they can trot out on behalf of white bigotry in Australia to say, we need to ban the Muslims. Matter of fact, I saw him saying something like that. I mean, it's just, and it's so blatant that everybody who's awake can see what's going on. But the haters, the bigots, they're so gullible, they eat it up. They're so gullible that they can't see that, oh, this guy is he's just an ass kisser. They don't see that he's just kissing their ass and he's doing this just to appease them, right? To appease the bigots. They don't see that, right? To them, oh, he's authentic. He's real. He's the real deal. Yeah, if more Muslims could be like him, right? They love that. They love that. They love these type of people. You see? But instead, you would think that they would be smart enough to say, you know what, we can't trust this guy. We can't trust this guy. He's just kissing ass, right? But no, they love it. They're gullible like that. They anything to justify their bigotry. Anything to keep them from having to face the reality that they're nothing more than a bunch of racists and bigots. Whatever makes them feel good, they'll love it. So they get this Uncle Tom Imam, then they love it. They love it. So let's check it out. I want to see this video here. This is a video I think that's exposing him, but let's check it out. Let's see what they're saying here in this video here. It says, fake imams stir hatred and fear by pretending to be Muslim leaders. This is by a YouTuber by the name of Digital Mimbar. Okay, so I'm giving him credit, Digital Mimbar. But let's see what he has here. Let's check it out.
Outrageous and sensational claims. Firstly, Imam Tawhidi. He has alleged that Muslims have a secret agenda to create their own Islamic country inside Australia. Now this claim is not only outrageous, but completely baseless, as no evidence or proof was provided by Tawhidi. In fact, very little is actually known about this man and who exactly he is. After a quick online search, his so-called Islamic Association in South Australia seems to have only been set up last year, and the local community...
Alright, so let's check it out. I'm going to let you guys see it.
His so-called Imams for Peace board that claims to be a community of faith leaders from around the world seems to have no other members but himself. One Path Network set out to find out who this man actually is, and after contacting the Australian National Imams Council, the peak body of Muslim imams in Australia, they revealed that this man is really not a recognised imam, sheikh or a Muslim leader. We also contacted the leader of the Imams Council of South Australia, Sheikh Amin Abu Samaha, who heads the largest mosque in the state, for a comment. He too clearly stated that Tawhidi is not a member of the Islamic leadership in South Australia and is in no way recognised. The second figure interviewed in the same segment is somewhat more notorious than Tawhidi. His name is Mustafa Rashid, and he is a well-known imposter who has falsely claimed in the past that he is the Mufti of Australia. This man is a proven fraud and a public liar who should in no way be used as a representative of the Muslim community. In fact, it was way back in 2014 that Anik had publicly exposed this man for his fraudulent behaviour, saying he was not a recognised imam, and it's not even known where he leads prayers. So it seems that this was nothing more than a sensationalised story, broadcast with no background checks and no due diligence, to create fearful hysteria and just grab attention. In this day and age where information flows freely, it's vital that we remember the Islamic and universal principle to verify any information that comes to us. And lastly, a message to anyone who felt worried, scared, or even angry after seeing that segment. Get to know your local Muslim community. Visit your local mosque, have a conversation, ask some questions. You'll find out for yourself what many already know, that there's nothing to fear from your Muslim neighbours.
Okay, so yeah, that was like a little video exposing, you know, these people. And as you saw, they contacted the organization and they see that, you know, it appears that there's no, like, you know, there's no record. You know what I mean? There's no record of where this man is an imam at, where he leads prayers. So these people are fakes. You know, they're fakes, frauds, bought and paid for by only Allah knows who, to try to demonize the Muslims and justify the bigotry, you know, and justify white bigotry in Australia. You know, and that's the sad part about it, is that, you know, I've always, you know, in observing, you know, resistance movements against you know, white racism, it's so sad that they're always able to find a sellout. You know, they're always able to find a sellout. Always, man. It's a shame. That's so sad that they're always able to find somebody who's willing to sell their people out. You know, that really angers me, so that they're always able to find a willing participant, man. You know what I mean? Who's willing to just sell the people out for whatever reason, for payment, you know, who knows, for payment, for perhaps they think they'll get better treatment than the other Muslims. It's, you know, it's pitiful, man. It's really pitiful, really pitiful. But yeah, that's a little bit about that right there. Let's see. I was watching some other videos as well. Let's see. Islam must reform to survive. He was on a talk show after, I think it was after the Manchester attack, right? Yeah, he was on the show after the Manchester attack, and he was talking. Let's see what we can find. I'll see. And before I get to that too, let me also say also that what we saw as well was that man, I lost my train of thought on that one. All right, forget it. Let's just go to that video then.
Yeah, the events in Manchester have sent shockwaves right around the world, and now Australia's Muslim leaders are speaking out against the atrocity. Joining us now, Dr. Jamal Rifi, who's a prominent figure in Sydney's Lebanese.
So let's get to the part.
A Friday mosque gathering, and the age is an age where someone would expect people to be Muslim youth to believe that if you go out there and you kill the infidel, Islamic scriptures that we have, they push that are being radicalized.
All right, here we go. Let's take a listen.
This happens because of the books that we have, the Islamic scriptures that we have. They push the Muslim youth to believe that if you go out there and you kill the infidel, that's how you will gain paradise.
But they're listening to preachers, if you like, sermons, 2 or 3 sermons by clerics like yourself, radical clerics. What do you more moderate clerics do to out your compatriots who are turning these young Muslims?
Well, it is very hard being a peaceful, moderate person within a society that is infested by extremist Muslims. I will not deny this fact. We have a large number of Muslims that are extremists, even in Australia, and we see them when they come out in the Sydney riots, and we see them attacking the police.
So we're being infested by radical clerics here in Australia?
Yes, clerics and followers as well, and I've said this to many government authorities, and I'd like to show you something. I bought this 2 days ago from a shop within Melbourne. This is Al-Qaeda's flag. These are stickers that are being sold for a few dollars. They have them on their windscreens, they have them everywhere. Now, I know that these things can be obtained from anywhere, even online or even on the internet. But when you have stores openly selling these items with full audacity and creating this jihadi atmosphere for the youth to put on their cars, fully modified cars now, instead of having
So
stickers.
you're saying, do you believe our authorities should have more powers to get rid of these radical clerics?
All right, so let's start right there. Let's start right there, because you heard the part, right, where he said that the scriptures. Now, he didn't specify which scriptures, but he said scriptures. Now, most people, when we hear the word scripture, we're assuming Quran, right? Because Quran is scripture. So he says the Islamic scriptures are pushing the youth to do these type of things, you see. But he didn't specify what scriptures, but I would like him. But of course, like I said, when people hear scriptures, they're thinking, well, the Muslim scriptures is what? It's the Quran. And as we know, the Quran does not push any such ideas. But this is the type of fear mongering that goes on. And then the other thing, if you caught it, was when he was talking about the infestation. See, that it's being we have an infestation of radical clerics and radical followers as well. A lot. He making it seem like almost giving the impression that the majority of the Muslims are that way. And this is also dangerous, right? Because we know most of the reports, the actual true reports, show that the majority of Muslims are not extremists, not radicals, not looking looking for a war or conflict or anything of this nature. So him to play that, again, these are just talking points that justify the bigotry, in this case in Australia, you see. But this is how the game is played, right? This is how they play. People like him play this game to give credence, to give justification to the bigots. So they hear him say, yeah, see, so I'm right to think that most Muslims are dangerous. I'm right to think that most Muslims are a bunch of radical, evil people or whatever. Because look, one of your own, alleged own, of course, as we've shown from the other video, he's not really one of our own because he's a fake, and he obviously is not the imam of any community, is not leading prayers anywhere. So, that's the way the game is played, though. That's the way these bigots do it. They say the things that they know the bigots want to hear. They say the things that appease them. They say the things that they like to hear. They like to hear that kind of bigotry. See? So he's just an aider and abetter of white bigotry and white racism in Australia. Nothing more. All right? So let's see what else he has to say.
I think our authorities have misunderstood the situation. They have good relationships with the Muslim community, but having good relationships with the Muslim community does not necessarily mean you have control over them and that you can prevent a lone wolf attack.
Yep. Jamal, you constantly condemn many acts of terror. Do Muslim leaders have to be more vocal? The Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister yesterday were surprised that Muslim leaders were silent yesterday on this whole issue. Do you have to be more aggressive, or do you live in fear?
Look, we don't live in fear. We live in a very peaceful country. I don't know where the Imam got his information from. First of all, these scriptures existed for hundreds of years. They didn't incite for violence or terror act. It is an ideology of the so-called Islamic State and Daesh, and they are actually targeting the vulnerable young people, impressionable people.
Okay.
But we are Australian. Our Prime Minister has expressed the feeling of the nation, and that includes Australian Muslims. Our Grand Mufti only yesterday, Grand Mufti have condemned this act. We have shouted from the rooftops our condemnation of these acts. Now,
Imam,
what more can we do? Only last
Jamal,
week,
Imam, you're shaking your head. Is there a disconnect
I
between
disagree.
Muslim leaders?
I disagree. We have a situation where there is a month doesn't go by without a terrorist attack happening somewhere around the world. And for the past 1,400 years, we have had a religion of war. That's exactly what we have had. This is not something I'm imagining. These are facts. We've had many wars. How did Islam spread from Saudi Arabia down to Indonesia?
So then, again, like I said, why you see, you hear him, right? So again, why are you still a Muslim then, right? If according to him, it's a religion of war, and it was spread by the sword, he's just repeating again Western, Western false histories, because as I've done in many of my debates, I've quoted Western, true and honest and unbiased Western historians that have talked about how, the claim that Islam is spread by the sword is nothing more than what Christian evangelists and biased, racist Western historians have repeated. But the reality is other than that, right? But, so here he is just repeating these claims, and again, if that's how he feels, why are you still a Muslim, right? why are you still a Muslim? I always tell people, I repeat again, if Islam was that way, I would not be a Muslim right now. I feel that I am a person of sound mind and judgment. So I know right from wrong. I believe I know evil from good. And I would not be following a religion that I thought was evil and violent and a religion of war and all this nonsense that he's claiming. Yet here he is saying that he's still a Muslim. I don't get it. Just leave the religion, right? Just leave the religion and then speak against it as an outsider, because you know, you look foolish claiming to still be a Muslim, yet speaking against it. I'm sure that the haters are wondering, why the hell are you still a Muslim then? If you're allegedly admitting that it's violent and evil, I'm sure they got to be thinking in their minds, then why is this guy still a Muslim then? It makes no sense to still be a Muslim if you're claiming that it's violent and it was spread by the sword and all that. Why are you still a Muslim then? You know why why he's claiming to still be a Muslim? Because again, this is how you get paid. This is how you get paid. Remember, we talked about in the last show about the Islamophobia industry, right? How there's a lot of money to be made in the Islamophobia industry. So this is the new one. This is the new game now, right? Before it was, you know, just talking evil, just people, haters against Islam talking evil. You can get money, you can get book deals, speeches, lectures, and all of that. You can make lots of money, right? Then the next wave came, which was the people claiming to be ex-Muslims, right? The ex-Muslim wave came. And now you got ex-Muslims talking against the same thing. You're getting book deals, speeches, lectures. You're getting invited to speak at colleges, getting paid $10,000, $13,000 a speech and all that to speak against Islam, being ex-Muslim, right? That was the Kamal Salims and the Wafa Sultans and, you know, the Ayan Hirsi. This is that group of people, right? Then you also had, like, you know, sometimes you have like the Arabs, you know, Arabs. They're not necessarily Muslim, but just Arabs from the Middle East. Same thing, playing that same game, right? So now this must be the next game. The new money maker is to claim that you're still a Muslim, but be the mouthpiece for the white bigots and white racists against Islam, but say you're still a Muslim. So that must be the new payday game, right? That must be the new game, the way to get paid by doing that, right? That definitely must be the new ways that it's going down. You see, so that's what we see happening here. Okay, so let's see what else he has to say.
Against the facts. That's not true. The Islamic scriptures is exactly what is pushing these people to.
Okay, you heard him, right? You see, he said the Islamic scriptures. So again, Mr. Imam, if it's the Islamic scriptures, why the hell are you still a Muslim then, sir? You sound stupid still being a Muslim, yet admitting that the Islamic scriptures are teaching this stuff, right? It doesn't make any sense. Why the hell are you still a Muslim then, sir? Why are you talking to people claiming that you're still a Muslim if, according to you, the Islamic scriptures are pushing the people? You know what I mean? Why are you still a Muslim then? Why don't you just leave it? You look idiotic sitting there claiming to still be an imam, yet following the religion that you just said the scriptures teach the stuff that these people are doing. Right? It makes no sense. Just leave the religion and then talk bad about it as an outsider. It's crazy. It's crazy. And far as that, you know what? I've talked about this before. Matter of fact, in my debate with Robert Spencer, right? I talked about what motivates these people. And it's not the Islamic scriptures. Glenn Greenwald did an article where he talks about the motivation behind, you know, anti-US, anti-Western terrorism. And it's not the scriptures, right? Hello, Brother Malcolm, right? It's not the scriptures. The article shows that all the people that, wa alaikum salam, all the people that committed these acts of terror, none of them referenced wa alaikum salam, none of them referenced Islamic scripture as their motivation. Their motivation over and over again was, you know, Western bombing. Wa alaikum salam, Jasir, right? Their motivation was killing of innocent Muslim civilians, bombing Muslim children, destroying Muslim lands, invading Muslim lands, killing Muslim civilians over and over again. These were the motivations. Killing Muslim people, killing Muslim civilians, killing children, killing Muslim children. This is what they said, right? This is what they said were the motivations for their actions. It wasn't the Islamic scriptures like you heard Mr. Tawhidi claiming. They don't reference any verses as their motivation. They say their motivation is like revenge for the killing of Muslim civilians in Muslim countries. This is what they say their motivation is, right? Even 9/11, right? Matter of fact, I'm gonna see if I can pull this up. There's a video on YouTube, right? Wa alaikum salam. There's a video on YouTube of the 9/11 commission, right? Of the 9/11 commission. And they had the FBI agents investigating the motive. Like, what was it that, you know, I think it was one of the senators or whatever on the committee. He asked the FBI agents, what did they find out in their investigation? What motivated these terrorists to do that? What motivated them to crash the planes into the buildings, right? What was it? What motivated them? He claims that, he says that according to the investigation, the motivation was that, you know, again, the invasion of Muslim countries, the killing of Muslims, the U.S. support for Israel against the Palestinians, you know, what they felt was the unjust support of Israel against the Palestinians. This is what they found out in their investigation was the motivation. It wasn't that they wanted Islam to dominate the world. It wasn't that the Quran told them to kill all infidels, right? It wasn't that they felt that Islam has to be number one. No, none of that was what they said. He said the investigation found out that the motivations were these political reasons. They felt that the West has been doing wrong against the Muslims. America supports Israel unjustly against the Palestinians with mistreatment and stuff like that. These were the reasons that they gave. I'm going to find that video. Let's see. 9/11 Commission. Yeah, let's see. Motivation. Let's see. Some of them use verses from Quran. Most of them don't use. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they really, you know, I haven't seen where any verses are used. You know what I mean? I haven't seen where any verses are used. A lot of times when they either left a letter or something, that they tell you the reason that it was because of Western bombing of Muslim civilians and children. Now, again, let me make it clear: this does not justify what they did. Right? This does not justify them harming innocent people in return. This lets us know, though, that the motivation is not what these bigots are claiming it is. It's not Islam as they want to make it, right? Because they use that to try to demonize Islam and say, well, look, see, like the Tawhidi is doing. See, it's the Islam, it's the scriptures, the book. Islam is evil. The Quran teaches it is evil, but it's not. Right? We know we don't find that in the Quran. And they don't use the Quran as a reference. They say that that's what it is. So here, look, here it is right here. What motivated the 9/11 hijack? This is the actual testimony, everybody, from the 9/11 Commission. The FBI agent is James Fitzgerald. So let's take a listen as he tells you what motivated 9/11. Look, listen. So the video, what motivated the 9/11 hijackers to attack the U.S. U.S. foreign policy bias for Israel in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and U.S. government support for oppressive regimes in the Middle East. Yes. The 9/11 Commission held its 12th and final public hearing on June, let me pause that real quick. On June 16th, right, the commission heard testimony from top law enforcement and intelligence experts on Al-Qaeda and the 9/11 plot. It was at this hearing that the question, what motivated them to do it, was finally asked.
I'm interested in the question of motivation of these hijackers. My question is really directed to the agents. But what have you found out about why these men did what they did? What motivated them to do it?
Now, for the haters, right? For the haters, the answer should be, oh, the Quran motivated them to do it. The life of Muhammad motivated them to do it, right? The Islamic teachings motivated them to do that. That's what the answer to the haters, right? To the haters, that's what motivated. But look what the FBI, listen, I want y'all to listen. Listen to what the FBI, now, remember, these are not Muslims now, right? These are not Muslims, right? So they have no reason to lie. They have no reason to say anything opposite to benefit Islam, right? But they're telling the truth. So remember, these are not Muslims talking and trying to appease the people and say something nice and pleasant, right? These are FBI agents. So they have no reason to say anything positive in defense of Islam. So I want everybody to keep that in mind. So listen to the answer.
I believe they feel a sense of outrage against the United States. They identify with the Palestinian problem. They identify with people who oppose repressive regimes. And I believe they tend to focus their anger on the United States. They identify with the Palestinian problem. They identify with people who oppose repressive regimes. And I believe they tend to focus their anger on the United States.
Okay, so now the video is saying that part of the video, that part of the testimony was kept out of the 9/11 written report, the written commission report, and no recommendation was given to address the main motive for the 9/11 attacks. Okay, so, right? So, I mean, I'm not talking about whether they did it or not. I'm not talking about whether the point right now is just to show that whether you believe in the inside job theory or not, the point is to show that according to the FBI agents themselves, the motivation was not Islamic teachings. It wasn't the life of Muhammad. It wasn't hadith. It wasn't verses from the Quran. The motivation was that he said that they feel an anger towards the United States because of the United States aligning itself or supporting oppressive regimes, which it does, unfortunately, right? The United States preaches freedom and liberty and justice for all, but yet they'll support the Saudi government or Mubarak from Egypt when he was in power, these people who are repressive against their own people, right? Against their own people, right? And then it also says that they also identify with the Palestinian problem. How the Israelis, with their racism and discrimination and mistreatment and unjust actions against Palestinians, they identify with that. That's what the motivation was. You heard it yourself. That's what the motivation was. And that same motivation is the same thing with the current issues that we have. Because I remember I did a video back with the Manchester incident. Remember with the Manchester one, right? I did a video about that. And it came out, right? It came out, the sister of the young man who committed the act in Manchester, she said it again. She repeated it, that her brother had identified with, with the situation in Iraq of innocent Muslims being killed, and it angered him, and that's what motivated him. His sister had said this. So once again, we found that once again, it was that common denominator, that the motivation was what the West, the British, the Americans, etc. have been doing to Muslims in Muslim countries. The killing of the civilians, the drone attacks, the bombing, this is their motivation. They see it as they are getting revenge. They're not doing it because they want Islam to be the top religion. They're not doing it because Islam or Quran says somewhere allegedly to kill non-believers just because they don't believe, right? That's not their motivation. They're not the terrorists themselves are not claiming that as their motivation. They're telling what their motivation is. Again, the article, matter of fact, I have the article. It's over in my stack over there. But the article is by Glenn Greenwald. The motivation behind, matter of fact, I could probably pull it up right here on the screen as well. The motivation behind the 9/11, the terrorist, anti-U.S., anti-Western attacks. Glenn Green. Yeah, there we go. Greenwald. What's that? Motivation behind anti-U.S. terror attacks. Yeah, here we go right here. Here's the article right here. The proper article is "The same motive for anti-U.S. terrorism is cited over and over" by Glenn Greenwald. Okay, Glenn Greenwald. Look, if you guys want to see it, here it is. Here it is. You see that? Can y'all see that? Can you see the title? Make sure you can see the title right there. Right at the bottom. Same motive. Yeah, there it is. Same motive for anti-U.S. terrorism is cited over and over again. Glenn Greenwald. Okay. And so in this article, he goes over several. The article was written in 2013, so it's dated now. But he goes back over all the recent attacks at that time, from that time going back. And he shows how like he said, like the title says, over and over and over again, they say the same thing over and over again. They don't use verses from Quran. They're not using verses from the Quran. They're not quoting a particular hadith. They're not citing an incident from the life of the Prophet Muhammad, right? Most of them. Is it true that there are Christian terrorists? Yes, it's true. There are Christian terrorist groups, right? You have the one that comes to mind, of course, the Ku Klux Klan, right? The Ku Klux Klan. You have the Army of God, right? Yeah, the Army of God is the one that does the ones that bomb abortion clinics. They bomb abortion clinics and kill and assassinate abortion doctors, right? So you have them. I used to have this link to what's the name? Isn't that ironic? Right? Isn't that ironic that Hezbollah means Army of God in Arabic, and then there's a Christian version. There's the Christian version of that called in English the Army of God, and they kill abortion doctors and they blow up abortion clinics and things like that. I used to have this link to this article that had like a list of all, and I'm gonna see if I can get it again. That has a list of all these Christian terror groups, right? Oh, I remember. Yeah, you have Christian Identity. There's the Christian. That was the one that was part from that guy Timothy. Remember Timothy McVeigh? He was part of that group. So yes, there are Christian terror groups, no doubt about it. Yes, there are Christian terror groups. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the LRA, the Lord's Liberation Army. All right, that's what that guy Coney from Africa, right? Coney from Africa. So yeah, so they're definitely out there, right? Also, too, the Tamil Tigers, I understood, are a Christian terror. Matter of fact, when I did some research, they say that the Tamil Tigers, this Christian terror group, are the ones who actually invented or came up with the idea of the suicide. They were the first group to do suicide bombings, the Tamil Tigers, and they're a Christian group actually. So yes, indeed, there are Christian terror groups, no doubt about it, right? No doubt about it. So that's just a little bit there. So, so again, as you heard from the 9/11 Commission report, the agents who investigated the motive, you heard what they said was the motive. You heard it right there. He said exactly what the motive was. What they found was the motive, and it wasn't any Quranic scriptures. It wasn't the Sirah, the life of Muhammad. It wasn't any hadith, right? The motive was, as you heard, the injustices, the oppression, or whatever. Now, again, I repeat, that doesn't justify getting revenge and harming innocent people in the West. It doesn't justify that. All right, I want to make that very clear. It does not justify doing that. It lets us know, though, however, that that's the motive and that these bigots are playing a game. Like Glenn Greenwald says in the article, the subtitle is, "Ignoring the role played by U.S. actions is dangerously self-flattering and self-delusional." That's what it says on the article, right? And he's right. And not only for the US, but for all the bigots, whether they're in Australia, the UK, America, Germany, where it's flattering for all of them, right? It's self-flattering and delusional, right? Because, and see, that's the thing with white racism and white bigotry, is that they do not want to acknowledge that they're doing you wrong. For some reason, they just don't want to acknowledge it. I don't understand. They don't want to acknowledge that they are doing you wrong. Even like now, even in America, right? With the Black Lives Matter and the Kaepernick thing, instead of acknowledging that, hey, you know, he has a point to not stand for the anthem, or Black Lives Matter has a point because of police brutality. No, instead they blame you. They make excuses. He's an ungrateful thug. They're a bunch of thugs. They're this, they're whining. You know, they're complaining. Oh, get a job. These are the things that you hear them saying, right? So I'm like, damn, why can't you just acknowledge that there's wrongdoing and we work together to fix it? Instead, they want to, you know, they want to turn a blind eye. They want to turn a deaf ear and ignore it and flatter themselves with excuses. Oh, those people are just evil. They're just evil. They're just violent people, instead of acknowledging the actual legitimate causes. You know what I'm saying? That would be the right thing to do. But no, they don't want to do that. You know, they don't want to do that. So that's why the problem just never goes away, because they ignore it. You know, they never want to acknowledge the wrongdoing that they do. You know, they want to act like it's like Malcolm X said. You know, he said, the quote is, I have more respect for a person who, basically what he said, who stands up or speaks for what he believes, even if he's wrong, than for a man who presents himself like an angel, but is nothing but a devil. I love that quote. I love that quote, because it speaks to what we've been dealing with for decades and centuries. We have a society that, like, instead of acknowledging its wrongdoing, no, they like to play like they're angels, right? They like to play like they're angels and good people and innocent people, but the reality is that they're acting like devils, right? But they want to present the good face. They want to talk about justice and democracy and freedom and liberty and all that. They want to talk that talk. But the reality is that they act opposite of what they claim. But they want to still put on a smiley face in front of you. No, just be what you're going to be. Just, if you're a racist, just be that. And don't talk freedom. Don't talk justice. Don't talk equality. Just be the bigots that you are, and just be that. And we can say, okay, at least you're letting us know who you are, straight up. But no, they want to smile in your face and play like they're innocent angels. And you know, that's where we are. That's what happens. You know what I'm saying? What would happen if a majority of whites became Muslims? Well, you know, if the majority of whites became Muslim, then our problems would be finished, right? Then we wouldn't have to worry about the bigotry. That's what would happen, I would think, is that we wouldn't have to worry about the bigotry. That we could all finally be brothers and sisters, right? Remember what Malcolm said when he came back from Mecca, right? After his experience of making Hajj, he came back to America. He said, look, from the experience that he had of seeing white Muslims and Muslims of other races and whatever, and how he was able to interact with them, and he didn't detect any racism from them, he said that made him say that, look, if the white man in America would study Islam, perhaps this would help solve the racial problem in America. So to answer your question, if the majority of whites became Muslim, then I believe that would solve the racial problem, right? Because now we would all be united, not by skin color, not by nationality. We would be united in the one belief in the one true God, right? That would be our uniting factor. So that's what I think would be the results if that happened. That's what I think would be the results if that happened. You know, so let's go back to the Imam Tawhidi. Let's go back to the Imam Tawhidi thing. All right. So I brought all that stuff up to say that, remember, he was saying that the motivation is the scriptures. But notice that when the journalist and agents are studying the motive, they don't come back saying that the motivation was the scriptures, right? They say opposite of what Tawhidi said. They say that the motive was, you know, the oppression, the bombings, and all that stuff like that, not the scriptures. So I brought that up to say that, you know, this information contradicts what Tawhidi, Mr. Tawhidi claims. So let's go back some more to listen to what Tawhidi's saying.
Behead the infidel. Let me tell you something. The people that are beheading, that the person that killed the young girls in Manchester did so believing he was going to dine with the Prophet Muhammad that very night. And that is because the Islamic scriptures.
That's not true. There is nothing. There is nothing in Islam that will justify.
Do not lie to the Australian nation.
Listen, there is nothing in Islam that will justify killing innocent people.
To behead people and to kill and massacre people. You cannot sit there and lie to the Australian people. No, wait a second. I came here believing that you were a moderate person. Do not lie to the Australian public.
So yeah, so now they you see the two arguing now, and he's repeating that some scriptures say this nonsense. I don't know where he gets that from. Where, you know, I used to hear that too. I always hear like these strange things that you've never seen or heard in Islam. Like he just said that the guy who did the act in Manchester believed that he was going to have dinner with the Prophet Muhammad that night after he killed the people. Where's that at? Where is that at? Where is that a hadith? I've never heard that at all. And I tend to read and study a lot. I don't claim to know it all, but I try to read and study a lot. I've never in my years of reading Quran, Hadith, Sirah, anywhere where there's a teaching that teaches that if you go out and kill infidels and get killed or whatever, that you will dine, have dinner with the Prophet Muhammad that very same day or whatever, or night. I've never heard that before. Is anybody familiar with that? Is that true? Is that authentic? I've you know what I mean? I've never heard that. I've never heard of that in all my years of being Muslim. Maybe I don't know it all. I don't claim to know it all. Perhaps I missed that. But again, I tend to, I've tried to read the common scripture, the common things that are mostly common to most Muslims. You know what I mean? And in my years of reading those common books, I've never seen or heard that. Right? I've never seen or heard that anywhere. Definitely not from the Quran, and I've never recalled that from any hadith collections or not. Now, somebody said, "Is that a Shia thing?" I've never heard that. Before he died, okay, now I've never heard that either. But that wasn't in the context of Uthman killing somebody, though, right? That wasn't in the context of Uthman killing anybody, though. That was just a vision, an alleged vision before he died. Allahu alam that, if the vision is true or the story is true or not. But again, it wasn't in the context of how Imam Tawhidi is putting it, that if you kill infidels and get killed, that you're going to die and have dinner with the Prophet that night, right? It wasn't in that context. It was just Uthman dying and allegedly he had a vision, right? So, and I don't even know if that's what he's talking about. Okay. Well, right, that's all right. So then that's my point, that it's not in the context that Imam Tawhidi is putting it, which is that if you kill infidels, that you will not be able to have dinner with the Prophet that night or so. Stuff is so astoundingly foolish and it just sounds so astoundingly foolish that I have to laugh at it. But this is what Tawhidi was saying, that supposedly the Manchester attacker believed that that was going to happen. And here's this, check. This is a funny one. I remember, right, back again, bro, but that's not having dinner with the Prophet, and that's not jihad. Jihad is you're fighting, right? You're fighting in a battle against other warriors. You're warrior against warrior, soldier against soldier. Jihad is not going and ramming your car into a crowd of regular civilian people. That's not jihad. Okay? It's not jihad to go into a concert where people are at a music concert and blowing up people. That's not jihad, bro. Okay, so when you say, well, if we do jihad, yeah, but that's not jihad. These things that we're here, this is not jihad, right? Because you're not fighting, you're not in a battle, you're not at war. You're right. You're not doing self-defense. You're not a soldier fighting against other soldiers. So so don't say stuff like that without the proper context, because it's misleading. You know what I mean? People could misunderstand what you're saying. So don't say it like that, because that's none of this stuff that we hear these people are doing. That's not jihad, right? They're not soldiers. They're not in a battle. They're not fighting against other soldiers, right? You're hurting innocent people. That's not jihad. Okay, hurting innocent people who are not soldiers, that's not jihad. Okay, so I just, we need to make that clear. All right, but yeah, and the thing you mentioned about Uthman, again, it doesn't apply, right? It doesn't apply, because again, he was saying that the person who did the killing believed, basically he's implying or saying directly that the Manchester attacker believed that the act that he was doing was going to allow him to be able to dine with the Prophet that night. In other words, the act that he did, harming these innocent people and getting killed in doing so, was going to put him in a position where now he's going to be rewarded by being able to meet the Prophet and dine with the Prophet, which is not true. Right? So that story about Uthman does not apply, because Uthman was not harming anybody. He was not harming any innocent person. He got, like you say, he got assassinated. So the two don't even connect at all, in any kind of way. All right. So then you hear the Tawhidi. He's screaming out. He's screaming out about don't lie. Again, this is all the tactic of the Uncle Tom Muslim. Right? This is all the tactic of the Uncle Tom Muslim, to act like the other brother is lying and that he's really telling the truth, and because what he's saying is, again, this is just giving fuel for the haters, right? This is just giving fuel for the haters to justify their hatred and their bigotry against Islam. Nothing more, man. That's all that's happening here. You know what I'm saying? So so this is very interesting. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to watch some more videos about this Tawhidi, and I'll probably put together, see what I can do to put together some refutations of the stuff that he's saying, And I also heard too that he allegedly had issued some like debate challenge, that he challenged any Muslim to debate him or something like that. But from what I've seen is that in my research is that he's just running his mouth. He's just talking. He's just talking his ego. And that when other imams have actually accepted his challenge to debate, that they get no response. When they say, okay, hey, I'll debate you, I'll accept your challenge, I'll debate you, he doesn't answer, he doesn't respond to the debates. And usually that's what the case is, that these people are just running their mouth. He's trying to appear like he's the tough guy, like he's the the supposed moderate, the supposed moderate, peaceful, loving Muslim. However, he's all talk, because if that's the case, I would like to debate him as well. I would like to challenge him to a debate. So if you get to watch this video, Tawhidi, I'll challenge you to a debate on these claims that you're making. And of course, be ready to answer this question: why are you still a Muslim if you're saying that the scriptures of Islam teach what these people are doing, to do these acts of violence against innocent people? If you're claiming that that's what the scriptures teach, why are you still a Muslim? I want you to be able to answer that question, right? I want you to be able to answer that question, sir, if you do accept the debate challenge, okay? Because to me, it just makes no sense. You know what I mean? It just makes no sense for you to still be claiming to be a Muslim. But again, I mean, like I said, it doesn't make sense logically, but it makes sense if this helps you get paid, right? Well, yeah, I don't know if he is. I guess he is by his. I mean, look at him, the way he's dressed, right? Some people say that's the Shia garb, to wear that kind of turban style like that, right? That they say that this is a Shia. The matter of fact, he may very well be a Shia. Because there was a video somebody had, let me see if I can find it, where they had a video. It was called Imam Tawhidi Exposed, right? And in the video, yeah, this one here, it says Imam Tawhidi exposed, and basically it's showing, like, I guess, old footage of him where he's contradicting himself now. He's saying, he's talking all this kind of stuff. They show him in the like the Shia ceremony with the swords, and you know how they what that thing when they celebrate Hussein and Hassan and Hussein, and they cut themselves with the swords, hit themselves and be cutting themselves or whatever. There's a video with him where he's in there, and he's not cutting himself, but he has the, you know, because they're all dressed up, but he has the sword, and he's doing a little dance with the swords and all that stuff like that. So I don't know, he may be, he might be, you know, but really that's neither here nor there, you know, whether he's Shia. The point is that because you know, a lot of these haters, they don't know anyway. They don't really know the difference between Shia or Sunni anyway. So to them, that doesn't really matter. The point for them, all that matters is that, look, they have a turncoat, sellout Muslim who is using their racist and bigoted talking points against Islam and against Muslims, and they can point to him and say, look, see, he's one of you guys. He's a Muslim. And he's saying, well, he's giving credibility to what we say as bigots. He's saying, yeah, you guys, your religion is violent. See? He's saying, yeah, your religion is evil. Your religion is violent. See? And he's one of you guys. He's still one of you. Matter of fact, he's a supposed imam. So to them, they don't really care whether he's Shia, Sunni. That doesn't matter to them. All that matters is that they got an alleged Muslim leader, imam, which, again, the videos that I've seen all expose that he's not a leader, right? All the videos that I've seen expose that he's not an imam of any community. He doesn't lead prayers anywhere, so he's not really an imam. But nonetheless, right, nonetheless, the haters don't care. They can just point to him and say, yep, look, see, he's saying it. There it is right there. He's justifying our bigotry. He's justifying our bigotry. That's really what it comes down to. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's what it's about right there. You know. So, but all right, brothers and sisters, it's about an hour, so we'll get ready to close it out. Remember, the next show will be Friday, 8 p.m. like we did last week. Okay, and like I spoke to you guys last week, we'll try to see if we can get at least 2 shows in during the week. Okay, once again, as I mentioned last week, if you would like to make a contribution and donate towards our efforts in doing the work that we do, you have the option here on YouTube with the super chat, or you can go to our website page. In the right hand corner, as I showed you guys last week, there's a link to my website, and you can also make a contribution to the website there. And as I mentioned, it goes towards the work that I do here in trying to, you know, set up the debates, in producing, you know, the other work that we do with the books and the videos. And by the way, too, let me mention this too. For those who've been following me for some time, I've been working on my project, the video, the DVD that I'm supposed to put out, misquoting the Quran, and I was trying to finish it by the end of this year. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to further extend that because my hard drive on my other computer that I had all the footage of the project went out on me. Right now, I'm trying to do a recovery on it. So hopefully if I can recover it, then I can continue on what I had, because I was slated to finish it by the end of this year and have it put out and be ready for you know, to purchase. But with my hard drive going out on the other computer, if I can't recover the file, I'm going to have to start all over. Now, when I start all over, it won't take as long as it took this time, because, you know, when I made the plea for the donations for the project, I had to do research, and, you know, I was reading books and everything, because obviously dealing with the information about the Quran is very extensive. So the period of time that it took was really due to, you know, me studying and reading and getting information, so that way as I do the project, I'll have my information correct and accurate. All right. But now that I'm because at this point while I was working on it, I had already done that, and I was already starting to finish the actual video footage of the project. I was doing the voiceovers for the verses and things like that, and my hard drive went out on me. You know, the computer, I guess, was probably, I don't know, 5 years old, 5, 6 years old. So the hard drive went out. Unfortunately, I didn't think that it would, you know, happen, and I didn't back up the files. My mistake on me. But I'm trying to, like I said, I haven't given up yet. I'm trying to do a recovery on it. So my last resort is to try to do anybody who's familiar with computers, is to try to do a platter swap. When you open up the hard drive and you take out the actual metal, it looks like a DVD, but it's actually made out of metal. But to take the platters out and you transfer them to a new hard drive that works, of the same model and number and all that stuff like that. And usually, in many cases, that works, and that will allow you to access your file. So I'm hoping that'll work. So right now, I got to get me the donor drive in order to transfer the platter from the old hard drive to the new one, and hopefully I'll be able to recover the video footage, and that way I won't have to start over. If I can do that, then the misquoting the Quran project, inshallah, should be able to get it out at least by, you know, we're already about to go into December in another few weeks. So hopefully by, you know, end of January, end of February, if I can recover, that is. If I cannot recover the files, then I'll probably have to extend at least to the middle of 2018, or at least to the end of 2018, because I'm gonna have to start all over again. As far as the footage and the voiceovers and putting the verses in, you know, I don't have to do the studying, because that's what took it so long from before, because I was studying and reading. But this time I have all the information. I just have to actually redo the video footage over again, the editing and all that stuff like that. So those of you who contributed, don't worry, I'm still working on the project. I still have it. I haven't given up. Your money is not going in vain. It's just that the hard drive went out, and this is slowing me down. So hopefully, I pray to Allah that I'll be able to recover it with the recovery process. If not, I'll have to start all over and do the video footage and everything again. Okay, but nonetheless, like I said, this is what the contributions go towards, and they're greatly appreciated. So as I said, if anybody wants to contribute, you can always use on your screen, you see the super chat. The super chat allows you to make a contribution there, or just go to my website and you can do it there. And we'll continue to try to put the work out and do the work that we do as best we can. All right. So inshallah, I will see you, brothers and sisters, and other viewers Friday, inshallah. Okay. So the next show will be Friday, and we'll see. We'll have some other topics to talk about. Maybe we'll talk some more about Tawhidi. I'm going to do some more research on him and see what other information is out there. But definitely somebody to look out for, and like I said, I guess that's the new game. That's the new way to make money in the Islamophobia industry, is to be the sellout Muslim. Claim that you're still a Muslim, but talk bad about Islam, talk bad about Muslims. The haters and the bigots in Western society will love you, and you'll be able to be on Fox News and all the other shows that, and you can help demonize Muslims further and get paid, right? All right, so you guys have a good night. Appreciate you for watching and checking out. Have a good night. Assalamu alaikum.